Okay, so if you haven't watched, please watch Marc Edwards' lecture at Michigan University talking about the Washington, D.C. and Flint water crisis. It's gonna keep happening all over the United States. Uh, so just watch it. Okay. This topic is gonna be about a solution to our political system. If these progressive political movements, even the libertarians, if they can get moving, we've got the Green Party making a lot of strides, and we've even got Republicans that are getting angry, and Democrats are waking up. Maybe they're not waking up the way that most of us would want, but it's starting to happen. So what this strategy is pretty simple. It's uniting the third parties. Now, how do you unite the third parties? Well, you actually have third party primaries. What does that mean? Say you've got a U.S. representative race, and you're going against a Democrat or a Republican, right? Whoever's the incumbent. So what you do is you go ahead and find someone that's not a Republican or not a Democrat to run against them. And so what you do is you have a libertarian candidate, you have a Green Party candidate, you may have another candidate, or maybe an independent. So what do? You actually have them debate, you talk about the policies, and you actually have people go and vote in that primary. So what happens? Say a libertarian gets 40 votes, 40% of the votes. Green Party candidate gets 20% of the votes, and you got independent that gets like 18% of the votes. So the libertarian has the clear advantage. So what happens during the general election? It's going to be there might be a Republican versus the incumbent Democrat, or vice versa, and then you're gonna have this libertarian. Now, what happens? You get everyone that's in the third parties to vote for the libertarian. There might be some haggles of like policy issues, but you know what? Libertarians and progressives are quite a lot alike. How they are alike is that libertarians really advocate for small local government. Progressives, they want small local communities to form together, to form grassroots movements to make decisions on policies. Very, 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 very similar. So, you can try, and same thing with Green Party. So, what you want to do is just get a lot of people involved into some candidate that's not a Democrat or Republican. The whole idea is, find common ground, and you don't vote the Democrat, you don't vote the Republican. Let's move on to something that I wanted to I shared with us a long time ago. I'm sorry, I'm not very well prepared. Let's see. Incumbents in 2016 reelected. What is this? Let's just open a couple. But basically, I did another video, and what it was 10 to 18% favorability rate for how Congress was doing. It was very low. But you know what? They had 2016 was the highest year for incumbents to getting reelected into Congress. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Sounds a little broken, right? You've got 10 to 18% of the polls saying they don't like what Congress is doing, and then all of a sudden you get like 93 to 98% of them to actually get reelected. That doesn't make very much sense. So, this is some raw data. Just looking at the wiki, you see the voting percentages, the amount of votes, the amount of eligible voters. 40% that don't vote. There's 92 million votes out there. Greg Wilson's blog, Libertarian in Florida. I like to correspond, read his newsletters, read his blog, get an idea of what libertarians are thinking, how they feel about the Republicans, how they feel about Donald Trump. You can look at how the DNC and RNC work together, and that's pretty easy because you can see here you got contributions by public companies. They don't just give money to one party, they give them to both parties. Why would they do that? Because they're pretty much one party. I mean, there's certain differences, but all in the end, they're working for the billionaires. They're corporatists. You've got why they don't allow third parties. You get a whole bunch of articles and it's about getting 15% in 5 different polls. But you know what? Screw the DNC and the RNC. Third party candidates can have their own debates, their own general election debates, their own actually third party primary debates. And so what they would do is instead of having Gary Johnson, the libertarian presidential nominee, instead of him running against Jill Stein, what happens is, say you've got 4 different parties. That's not the Democratic Party, that's not the Republican Party, and they have a debate against each other. And you have a third party presidential primary, and whoever gets the most votes ends up becoming that nominee. Of course, there's probably going to be some like promises, like say, hey, Green Party wants, say the Green Party lost, and say the Libertarian Party won with the third party primary. The Green Party probably wants some stuff in turn for their support. Whatever that is, they try to make a deal. And what happens? You get the Green Party, you get the independents, you get whatever. People who leave the DNC, the RNC, they put all their votes into the Libertarian candidate because they won the third party primary. What you get is a huge movement of people voting for this candidate. Now think about it. If there's about 25% of people who actually vote for a particular Democratic candidate or Republican candidate, they usually win, and it's based on the Electoral College. But if the people have someone else that they want in, I would say 5 to 10% would leave the DNC, would leave the RNC, and vote for this third party candidate. And there's also going to be a lot more votes going on to this candidate. And this is, in my opinion, in my strategic analysis, the only way we're going to ever get a third party in is by uniting all the third party candidates, all the third parties into a primary to pick the best one, and then have all the votes go towards them. Never vote Democrat, never vote RNC or Republican again. That's the only way. And then once you're in there, you make it so you expand it. The reason why? Well, I just showed you. The RNC and the DNC, they are one party, and we need to get rid of that one party. And that all they are corporatists. So, get rid of the corporatists. Get people who advocate for strong local government. No one really, no progressives, no libertarians, no Green Party. They don't want wars. We don't want to be fighting outside our country. We want a better environment. We want clean energy. There's so many things that the majority of people want, but people are just so used to the corruption, so used to saying it's just hopeless. This gives the best chance of giving people hope that we can beat the establishment. This is the way to do it. We get third-party primaries going. All right, so if you agree with me, if you have any questions, any comments, any things that you see as problematic to this entire idea, please let me know. The only way to make it better is to see the deficiencies and shore them up, okay? So please think about this, and if there's any actual political leaders out there, spread this message, because the only way to win is to unite the third parties. All right, bye.